here, Harry. Maybe let's start that over. Peter Wendrum, Harry Lyons, and myself, and
Here.
Ali Giannis are members of the committee, and so we are all present. Supervisor Crandall hopefully will join us later.
Oh, he's hopping on now.
Oh, good. Are there any items that anybody wanted to add for us to discuss today before we move forward? Okay. And so let's go ahead and move on to our board action. Approve the minutes. I did have a change to the minutes. It said Supervisor Bruno Crandall. I thought that was kind of a strange situation there. And right at the roll call, actually, on the first one.
Got it.
If that can be changed. Other than that, I didn't have any changes or additions. Did anyone else?
Yeah, I wanted to say that that the subheading under Army Corps should say discussions with representative from Garamendi. Then that would be great.
Good catch. Anything further? Okay, let's open that up also to the public. If there's anybody that wanted to ask any questions or comments. And let's go ahead and bring it back and let's vote on that.
Okay, I move that we approve these minutes.
Second.
All right, Dr. Lyons with a motion, and I believe that was Supervisor Crandall with a second. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope. And I would just like to clarify with the committee, we'll approve them with the updates and the edits that we just made.
With the amendments, yes,
Yes.
thank you for
Okay.
that.
Perfect.
That was the intent of the motion. All right, EJ, all yours.
All right, excellent. I think up next is, did you already pass agenda items, additional agenda items?
We did 1, 2, and 3. We're on number 4.
Okay, project area parcel acquisition. So I think this is Marina.
Yes. And let me go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and just give an update on where we're at in terms of our project tracking sheet. And then before I take any questions, I'm going to pass it over to Celia Hoberg, the county right-of-way agent, to fill in any details that I may be missing. So you can see here that we have, these are the priority parcels that we have been working on with Paragon Partners right here. And actually this, sorry, excuse me, this should say Monument right here. So Paragon Partners, we have been working with them for our priority parcels. We have Mountainous. I believe they're just waiting on the final checks to officially close that, but we are pending completion for that parcel. And then Ortega as well, we just recently went before the board. So again, we're wrapping up the closure of that parcel as well. And then here we have the legals and plats, which we are waiting for 3 remainder partial take legals and plats to be completed by Concert Land Surveying and also Monument. They are co-contractors with one another for that task, waiting on that. But then every other draft legals and plats are in review. And then I believe they are sending the notice out this week. Is that correct, Celia?
Yeah, all the plats and legals were done except for those 3 because we just had some little weird things that we had to get through, which we've accomplished that. Mike Concert was going out to finish those 3 plats and legals, but Jeremy at Monument can go ahead and get the appraisals going even prior to the final review on the drafts and legals. So there's enough information to get all the appraisals done so we can start presenting the remaining offers. So yes, we're in a really good place there and still just waiting on state DWR to get the final funds in for those 2 escrows, Mountainous and Ortega, to get those closed. And then I think Oldham is going before the board to get that a contract approved. They've signed and accepted that offer. So
Yes.
We're actually getting momentum going. And I think once the appraisals are done, then we're going to start we're gonna have multiple offers going out and we'll start closing quite a few.
And just to
So-
highlight, thank you, Celia, for that. Just to highlight, yeah, Oldham is going before the board for approval tomorrow during the tomorrow board
Awesome.
meeting. So
Yay.
yay, item 5.13 if folks want to follow along, but it's a consent item. So
Is that the
Yeah.
1430 Nice Lucerne cutoff? No, that's not it. I'm trying to figure out which one on the list that you're showing us is Oldham, because I don't see Oldham.
I don't think they're not on, I'm not seeing them on that list,
I'm
and I
not-
don't know that it was priority, but it's definitely moving along, so.
yeah, so I'll get on, I'll add them on this list. But yeah, they're not on this list. That is correct.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, or?
Marina, did you want me to show the map?
Yeah, Danielle, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and Danielle has created an awesome map that is on the Water Resources website. Daniela, do you mind walking people on how to get to that map if they're curious? Oh, you're on mute. I can hear you outside my door.
Sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So currently we have the map up. No. Middle Creek. If you go to this bottom part where it says current progress on the property acquisition is located here, you just click this guy and it'll bring you to the PDF. So now this is out of date because this was when I made it in beginning of October, late September. So I'm gonna be I'll be updating this by the end of the week with the progress that we've made so far. So, what is this? So this is the current map now with those other ones.
Okay. Peter, you have your hand up?
Yeah, may we go back and ask a few questions about the tracking? Please, can we see that exhibit again?
Yes. Did anyone have any questions first on the map that Daniela shared?
No, thank you very much for,
Good job, Danielle. Very, very well.
All right.
Okay, first of all, my question has to do with, first of all, draft legals and plats in review.
Oh, Peter, what that means is that Mike Conser has prepared the legals and plats for the portions we are acquiring, but we always go through a peer review to make sure there are no errors, because once we record those, it's a lot harder to go back and fix an erroneous
Sure.
legal description. So we've got our, Marina can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a part-time surveyor that's going to be filling in or is filling in for Gordon. I think his name is Mr. Mueller. And Kara in our DPW department has got all those draft legals and plats ready for him to go over all the fine points and degrees and feet and that kind of stuff.
That is correct, Celia.
Of all of these parcels that are listed, let's see, it's sort of rough. I'm just doing a very fast count. It looks like about 14 parcels maybe. Is there, and we know we need more. Do we know what the acreage is can you tell from this sheet? The total acreage those parcels represent?
Not from this sheet. If you want a total acreage of what we've acquired and what we will be acquiring, I can get that information together for you.
Okay,
Because some of them are partial takes, obviously, and the rest are full takes. So
Sure.
we can get acreage for you if you want total acreage of what we have acquired / what we will acquire.
okay. Is Monument working on any other parcels other than the ones that are listed here?
Well, all the notice of decisions to appraise are going to go out to all the landowners. We were just waiting on these drafts and legals so that we could let the appraiser know we have the approximate area that we will be acquiring. But yes, Monument's working on all of their parcels.
Okay. I noticed on these who's doing the appraisals, by the way, just so I get that clear.
Monument hires their own appraiser, but I'm pretty sure it's Mike and James Pattison who've done a lot of things for the state of California Water Resources and for County of Lake.
Okay,
And they're out of Sacramento.
okay. Thank you. Do we
Sure.
know at this, do we have any idea at this point as to with these parcels, what the total, approximate total, rough total cost is?
No, but Marina and I have been working on what we are assuming they're going to come in at value. Because we have to do our reporting to DWR as far as how much money we think we need for this quarter and the next quarter and things like that. So we're slowly working on that as we put those in the DWR pipeline for our quarter. Is that right, Marina, for what our cash expenditures are going to be?
Yeah, so we had to, again, we can't do a solid estimate if we don't have the appraisals in front of our faces. So what we had to do is we had to send the cash drill to DWR. This is a copy of our cash drill for anticipated expenditures just for their planning purposes. And we just did a rough estimate, basically seeing how much money we had left and breaking it up until then. But yeah, again, Celia and I are working on that. We just don't have the rough number in front of us because we don't have the appraisals.
Is is it projected that we will use up all of the money with what we have, or do we need to get more too?
Well, again, it's projected that we're going to be using all of that for our willing sellers. The area that we're lacking funding is for non-willing sellers. We don't have a lot of funding for that. So for example, we have Hanston here. We know that they're a not willing seller, so we can't invest much more time or energy into them if they're not going to be willing. We can't use our current funds for them.
Yeah, of course, that makes perfect sense, I guess, keeping in mind that the big target being to use up all of this money in this grant. That's what I kind of keep monitoring, and
Yeah.
hoping we're getting there at that.
And as I've brought up in previous committee meetings, what I'm planning on doing is, even though we have an extension, I don't anticipate that we'll be using any or very much money from the hydraulic mitigation funds that are allocated towards our current agreement. I can't remember the exact task number. So I'm working with the state to relocate those funds that were allocated in that task to the acquisition and admin costs. So we have more funds for actual appraisals and the admin costs, because I'd rather use that money than leave it vacant, even if we can't touch it, even with the
Sure.
extension. So I'm working on moving those monies from task to task with the state.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Sabatier, you have some questions?
Yeah, just to add on, we did, I believe it was correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the Montanos properties that we just purchased about a month or so ago, or we approved the purchase of, and that was around, if I'm guessing correctly, $750,000 or $950,000. It was less than $1 million, but it was quite a large number. The one that's on our agenda for tomorrow is $1.3 million. So I don't disagree with your question, Peter, which is how fast is this money going away and how much will be left over for the willing sellers? So I think that looking into that is definitely a good idea. And what I'm going to ask is that we have a conversation next month, if we can add this to the agenda, on what is our plan for the non-willing sellers, because I think that we need to start that at one point rather than waiting till we're done with the willing sellers in order to start with the non-willing sellers, because that's a very long plan if it's going to end up being like eminent domain or something of the kind.
That's exactly right, Bruno. It will have to be an eminent domain process, and we can count on that taking 6 months to a year. So I'm thinking at the first of the year, we need to decide if we're going to engage county council, which probably time, as far as time is concerned, we may have to subcontract council for eminent domain, because I think we're going to have a handful that we're going to have to condemn.
Right. And we haven't had that list in front of us necessarily as to exactly who is not a willing seller. I know you have some of that data. I think that next month I would really like to have that conversation so that we can support you in what the plan is.
Okay.
And also have a better understanding of what our timeline looks like and what our plan is for those properties.
Yeah, so we can add that for the agenda for next meeting, and then we'll also give the tentative list of non-willing sellers or who we think are going to be non-willing sellers just based off the discussion. So
And
Right.
I think too, once we pretty much identify who the non-willing sellers are, I think it might be a good idea to also discuss at the next meeting, like one last game plan to make one last run at those people, which is kind of what we've done with our South Main project. We've got some holdouts and we've been able to narrow down the condemnation list to 4 or 5 rather than 8 or 9. So there are negotiation, tactics that are legal and upfront with the property owner to, maybe some more one-on-one conversations, because if we can avoid condemnation, we should.
Right. And
I
then,
think-
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that I know one of them, a couple properties, but one of them, the tribe being, there's something that they asked me to bring up. I'll bring it up a little later on public expression, but I think that may help to getting them to become willing, maybe. I don't know, but we'll
Okay.
talk about that at public expression, so.
Sure.
And one of the things that I'd like to know when we get to the conversation, if it's possible to bring this information, it would be helpful. Can we, I know that the city of Clear Lake did this with a private property where they did some sort of MOU to say that for $1 or something like that, they're gonna allow the city of Clear Lake to have the ability to go on the property and take action to protect from fires. And then they got CAL FIRE in under the jurisdiction of the city of Clear Lake rather than as a private individual in order to clear that property where there's been historical amounts of fires that happen every single year. Maybe it's a possibility that we have some sort of MOU between the property owner where they get to save their property, but they allow us to be signed on, and maybe the state might see that as being okay. I don't know, but I'm just.
That actually would fall under an easement, and we've already discussed that with the state DWR, and it's got to be a full-on acquisition. They will not accept
Okay.
anything that is not uniformed title acquisition. So in other words, basically, they have to acquire the title all the same way so that
Right.
at some point in the future, when Army Corps comes in, there's no problems later on down the line.
Well, maybe I've asked that before and you've given me that answer before. I just keep trying just in case, but thank you very much for knowing the answer. to that.
You never know unless you try.
And then I also was hoping, we've been asking for the data to be provided to us, but not in a virtual way. If it's possible to just share that spreadsheet, just because I want to be able to really take it in, look at the big picture and kind of peruse it on my own, and wondering if that can be done for all of the members as well.
yes, I have a few updates I need to make, but I can send that out by the end of this week. And hopefully after tomorrow, I can make another, big announcement, or at least a final, yes, pending closure for Ortega, or sorry, Oldham.
Oldham, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you'll be able to do that. And my last question, any further conversations with those that are owners of the properties that cross over Bloody Island?
No, we're sending another letter out this week. And then I don't know if any of the committee members want to see that, but that's just coming from the Water Resources Department. Again, make it more of a personal letter to be sent to them before the consultants have larger dialogue with them.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll open it up to the public briefly. So under item 4, parcel acquisition. Is there anyone that from the public that would like to say anything? Have any questions? All right. We'll move on to 5, project area property maintenance updates and next steps with project area property maintenance.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Daniela Cazares, Water Resources Program Coordinator, for the update.
We haven't had as many dump sites, but there is still a little bit of dumping going on over there. So we're staying on top of that. We're providing a lot more patrol out there. So we're not seeing as many people out in the Middle Creek project area. And then the only other update I have is the demolition for the Torrance Vigil property is finally coming along. We're in the steps of applying for our demolition permits with building and planning and air quality, and also getting some quotes from contractors. So I'm hoping that by the end of this month, we'll have that scheduled for the demolition of that property.
Nice.
And that's all I have.
That's the spooky house.
Any questions or anything anyone would like to add?
I may have said it last time, but I think that if the out of sight, out of mind areas are the worst when it comes to illegal dumping. And if it continues to be an issue, I would suggest submitting a CAN grant for cameras so that there's not that many entrances. And if we have a picture of somebody coming in full and leaving empty, it's kind of obvious what happened. And I think that would be enough to be able to start doing some administrative fines and go after those people and try to stop that kind of activity. And I believe based on Supervisor Crandall's project that he did, that they're like $2,500 or $3,500 a year.
Well, with those, those are the license plate readers, and so yeah, they're either 2,500, and for both directions it's 5,000. Or we could look into some other types like game cameras or something like, I don't know, but I know that what would really help is to have so like in some of the spots where we have the license plate readers, it's going to get what you're talking about, Supervisor Sabatier, but at the same time, I would also like to look at a way to implement a really, I don't know if it's a game camera or not, but one like such that catches the act and goes off when they go there, if that makes sense, in a spot where no one really knows that it's at. But of course that takes a little bit of more research, but I think with a CAN grant that could be obtainable. Yeah, that way we're not spending as much on the flock camera is what it's called. We can look into some other cameras that may be a little, less expensive, but can do that trick as well and kind of work synergistically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. I've been looking into different types of cameras and looking into like the options of getting live feed data stored somewhere, or getting just data and then going out to collect that data later and then reviewing that.
Yeah.
And then the specs too. It has to be good quality for us to actually go after these people.
Yeah.
Because we also find that, when we go out there, I don't know why people just hang out there, but you'll just see people parked in like these super sketchy areas, like off the side of the road. And then when you drive by, they just leave. So we look to see where they're at to make sure they didn't leave anything, but there's nothing that we can see. And whatever they're doing, I'm not quite sure, but we just want to try and avoid that.
You can't rule out romance.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say
That's for
that.
sure.
Harry said what I was thinking.
That's yeah. You did too, yeah.
Very few places in Lake County anymore where you can just pull over.
Yeah.
We want to try to avoid our Middle Creek project area to be that place. Between that and Highland Springs, for
Right?
whatever reason, our properties get
Soon to be known as Lover's Marsh.
Oh, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Marina, we're gonna have to create a song about Lover's Marsh and Middle
Yes.
Creek.
We will. We'll put that on the next agenda.
All right. Any other questions or anything from the board members, or no? Anyone from the public have anything on item 5 for property maintenance? Excellent. We'll move on to item 6, California Department of Water Resources, update on communications with DWR.
We're still in strong communications with DWR. They've actually have been very responsive to us, and vice versa. So our most recent communications were them requesting the Castro, and of course we needed some clarification on that. So they were very helpful. So we have a good strong relationship and communication level with them so far, but nothing major on that end, so.
Okay. Anything from the board? No. Public? All right. Item 7, Army Corps.
Yeah, I was gonna pester Daniela and Marina the middle of next week so that I can use what I'm gonna call PATS, which is the parcel acquisition trackers. And what I want to do is, once we get this update next week, some fresh data, send that map and the tracking table to Dylan Van Dyne, who's back from his leaves, and hit him with that, and also a general description of what we learned from Ian Hart. So I want our project manager at the Army Corps to know what Ian informed us on, and I think he's in line with that. So I'll do that in the middle of next week. I'll make another connection with our man, our person at the Army Corps.
And maybe Marina, on that tracking sheet, we could add one more column of acres acquired.
Yeah.
Maybe, or square footage type of thing, so that we've got an amount of an area.
So we can have,
I
We
was
can
gonna add that to the map as well. Sorry.
perfect. So we'll have acres that we are acquired and then anticipated acres, remaining acres to be acquired. So we'll add
I'll
that.
work on that this week too.
Perfect, thank you. Celia.
That's a very powerful summary number for someone with the Army Corps, acres, that this is where we are. And then eventually we can tell them about the money, but I think the acres is a pretty good input for old Dylan.
Peter.
Yeah, just a quick question. On the Buddhists, any further progress? Because that'll make such a gorgeous spot in the map if we're able to get that one on there.
I can
Yeah.
check with Laura Didio. The offer has been presented, and I know that they're very I won't say slow, but very diligent in their work and dealing with a couple of people at the Buddhist Association, and speaking with him on the phone with the acquisition agent from Paragon. And I know that they're probably going over every fine detail before they give us either a counteroffer or an acceptance.
Thank you.
And then just to
But they are-
piggyback off of that, Laura did state that they were having some sort of board meeting. So they should have an appraisal offer around 12/6. So whether the board meeting was today, so we should see something trickling in the next week or so. But yeah, going off of what Celia said, we don't know if we're going to get a counter offer or the logistics of that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Supervisor Sabatier?
We talked with Ian Hart quite a bit about our process. And I don't know if it would be directly to Dylan or if it would be to Dylan's bosses that we would be making the request to get things started. Pretty much what we were told was property acquisition is first and foremost, that nothing will move until we can show that we're at least nearing the end of property acquisition. So I think that the acres is going to be important because there's a difference between the percentage of properties that we've acquired versus the percentage of acres that we've acquired. And I think both percentages are going to be important. But at one point, even if we're at 50%, I would suggest that we still at least make an attempt to request that funding be provided to start the process. We know that we're not stopping until we're done with the process. And if we get a no, that's perfectly fine. We know we're at 50%. We knew it was probably a very low possibility of getting a yes. But I think the sooner we make those attempts and the more often we make those attempts, the more that we're going to be at the forefront of their minds. And the more likely we're going to get a yes than if we wait till we're at 90% or 95%. And maybe that will be the time that we only get a yes. But I think we have to try rather than wait till everything seems to be perfect. I just think that's one of those numbers that I'm looking forward to looking at from all the data that you have. so that we have a basic game plan on when we start submitting those requests directly to Army Corps to start the design process, because of the fact that we do have the funding ready already from the local district already. And so I think that asking doesn't hurt. It's a kind of the same letter again, and again and again and again, just a little update here and there. So it's not like each iteration requires a whole bunch of staff time. I think it's just that first letter that's going to require a little bit of work.
Peter?
Yes, apropos of this discussion, I've been following the reapportionment maps for the congressional reapportionment, and the latest version, which it appears is most likely to be the permanent version, would put Lake County entirely in Mike Thompson's district, which is what it used to be. So the question I have is, at what point do we want to start to engage his staff and reporting and so forth in a very direct way, or keeping him posted so that there's no, as much as possible, there's no gap in coverage?
How about 65%? If we stay on Mike, I think, like Bruno said, regular attempts, just to show them that we are eager.
Mm.
No, I guess the point being, I'm
To your
sorry.
comment, Peter, I think right away. December 16th, I believe, is when it has to be officially approved for the new maps.
Mhm.
I think right now they show still as tentative maps. They need to get approved all simultaneously within the next week or so. And so I think as of January 1st, we make sure that we engage with Thompson's office in the same way that we've been engaging with Garamendi's. What I would suggest is, because this is Clear Lake as a whole, which eventually ends up being Yolo County and Cache Creek, we continue to be engaged with Garamendi's office.
I
Yeah,
agree.
they know about the project. They've been absolutely intimately involved with the project as far as getting information and helping us with some of the conversations we've had. I say we don't lose a congressional interest. I say we gain one that has that much more information in front of them. I know that we already have Thompson's support. He helped us connect in the first place with Garamendi's office. But I think it would be best to continue with both.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything to add, Harry? Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Anyone from the public? Okay. Moving on to PG&E. And I know that she met with us last month.
And I think that I'd like to rehash the conversation, and I know that I read through it in the minutes, but I need to rehash it with all you guys.
Mhm.
I think it's similar in the sense that we can't really ask PG&E to be prepared, or we can't ask Caltrans to be prepared without really looking at what the actual construction design itself looks like. So I don't know that we can move forward as quickly as I had hoped that we can start moving forward for those things, versus kind of simultaneously trying to work together between Army Corps and PG&E, rather than us and PG&E.
Yeah.
Am I correct in my interpretation of the conversation that we had, guys?
Yeah, in essence, it was vague, but she did, the PG&E representative did ask for the contact information for our project manager at the Army Corps. And so I don't know if she connected with those folks or not, but I think we cannot rely on PG&E and taking the incentive and
Right.
making a connection and finding out the procedures here.
Right.
Yeah, so she did write that she would contact. Yeah, I'm reading through that too. And so it'd just be key to follow up with her and get some of those questions that we asked her, because she said she was going to get back to us.
Yeah, I would suggest if, and Supervisor Crandall, let me know if you want me to do this, but one of us
I can do it.
speak with Melinda, check in, see if she's made that contact. And if not, I would suggest that one of us does the electronic introduction to both Dylan and Melinda. And that way we can get that, we can force that conversation to occur.
Yeah, I can do that. I have a couple other things to talk to her about too, so I'll mix it in. Yeah. All right. Anything else about PBG&E?
Do we need to make a motion for the committee chair to follow up with Melinda?
I would say no. I think direction, if everybody
Consensus?
agrees, then I
Yeah.
think consensus is good enough.
Good consensus. Yeah, that way I can,
Perfect.
Because there's no action taken other than trying to connect people and communicate. There's no orders being given.
all right. Okay, sorry. Anything from the public? Okay. I'm not hearing anything. Legislative, number 9. Supervisor Sabatier?
So I since it's being recorded, I'll make sure my words are well chosen. My feeling in walking out of last month's meeting was that we need to make sure and use our legislative staff and members' time appropriately. There was a feeling of, I don't know, it almost felt like annoyance that I got in some of the meeting from the staff that we were speaking to. Like we should have known these things. I don't know. And I just want to make sure that we try not to overutilize. I think we need to understand what our process is, and we need to understand what we need to get done, and at what point we need to ask for their help. But that was a feeling that I came out of, and I don't know if you all were as sensitive as I was to feeling that, or maybe I felt it and it wasn't the correct feeling to walk out of that meeting. But it just, it felt like we had bothered.
I need to say that there are such thing in the world as annoyed people, and Ian is one of them. And I have been chastised by Ian for not responding to him on an email chain. He's a very useful person, but in certain respects, he gets annoyed, and maybe rightfully so. But I think you need to be reminded what Peter Windrum reminds me, and that is that these folks work for us. And so we need their help. We need information from them. If they're annoyed, too bad.
Yeah. It's a good way to state it.
I got that sense as well, that he was a little bit annoyed, but somewhere in between the lines, it seemed like he wanted to try to tell us what we should be doing, but maybe he wasn't supposed to. And I've been in those situations before, working, learning as I've been working with the county, that there's some things that other agencies expect we should know. But like Harry said, they do work for us, and this is new for all of us. And we're trying to be as diligent in our side of it as we can. But yeah, they do need to, sometimes they need to just spill it out for us.
If I can comment too, I can tell you we've spent at least 4 years trying to figure out this process. And that meeting last month was hugely helpful. Yeah,
Yes.
This is like going through a rat's maze. It's not easy, and it's not easy to understand it and what the steps are. So whatever that may have cost an annoyance, the results were well worth that price, as I see.
I really want to state my appreciation for Bruno's comment, because sometimes I think it's just me that I'm too sensitive, and I think that people are annoyed with me, and I want to be loved by everybody. But the fact is, you noticed it too. It makes me happy.
A very strange way. And my reason for bringing it up is we want, it's knowing that the project is there is one thing, but happily supporting our project is another. And I want to make sure that we utilize their time when we need to utilize their time. and that we try to minimize any repetition or minimize any great lengths of time needed from them for things that may be menial. It's not very specific what I'm saying, but it's just that I wanted to make sure that we have their full support throughout. And if we can manage through that, it's a relationship, it's always difficult. But if we can manage through that in a better, more productive, positive way, that would be awesome. And maybe that's not even possible, so.
Sure, it's possible. We'll make it happen.
All right. But yeah, no, I think with what we discussed earlier, Peter, when you mentioned the redistricting, and then Supervisor Spatier mentioned that as well. I think we'll see a little, I think what it is we've all worked with Thompson's office a lot. I mean, I have, even previous to the change in 2010. So we have that
Yes.
relationship, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And the way I feel is I barely just built that with Ian Hart and crew when it comes to Garamendi's office, but we've had that established with Honor Auto with Brad. I think everybody here could probably text Brad and he'd answer. So like, I think that's where things are going to somewhat differ. I hope, I anticipate that,
Yeah.
I don't know if you all do, but I just know that we've had that relationship. So it's just a quick thing for him, and it's because of relationships built. And I think if we were to stay in the district that we're in now, I think in about another 5 years or so, we would have that. But that's how long it takes sometimes. It's sad. It's bureaucracy. And but yeah, nothing is worse than being made feel like we're annoying somebody. So
If you get what you want, it's worth it.
well, they should be put through a customer service. Whenever you're in a service position, you have to learn that. Yeah. All right. Anything from the public? All right. Project funding, update on budget request from Middle Creek.
Again, the only funding that we have right now is for our our DWR grant for our willing sellers. I know previously we had talked about the possibility of getting funding from whether it be a CAN grant. So whether we look at the CAN grant for getting funding for maintenance, so getting these cams, but I would like to move forward with submitting an application for the CAN grant. Also just having a buffer of funding available that we can use in whichever capacity we deem appropriate. So for example, with the Mountain Oaks, we had an administrative settlement that was a priority parcel. So we had to pull $150 from water resources reserves, which I'm looking to put back in there somehow. So just a buffer bucket of funding that we can use in whichever capacity and how we want to go about that. But that's something that I would like to bring before this committee to get the feel for what you all think. But again, our priority right now is utilizing all those funds. Even with the extension, we still have a lot of work ahead, and I don't want to give a single penny back to the state. So anything that we can do to utilize all those funds, that's me and my team's focus right now. So yes, I see Supervisor Spatier.
Yeah, I know that I don't have it right in front of me, but we have water resources as one of the categories for cannabis tax allocations. It's not by itself. I think it's,
Out of 3.
I want to say it's like economic development / water resources / something else. I forget what it is, but
Community development or
something along those lines. And one of the things, I've made a few phone calls to different departments saying, what's your project? What are you doing this year? There's $1 million available. And so I would suggest, if we end up in a situation where, same as the Montanos folks, where they're asking for more than what was appraised, I think the last thing we want to do is scramble around looking where we're going to find money when there's $9 million in reserves in cannabis taxes right now, and $1 million allocated in our budget, or more than 1 million. I think it's 1.125 allocated for where water resources is in that category. And I know that I would be in support of saying, this is too important to try to run around and delay this any further. Let's use cannabis taxes because nobody's asking for it. I think we need to learn to ask. I don't think we're used to the fact that it's available in there.
That's reassuring. So what do we need to do? What does Water Resources need to do?
I would suggest that, so I believe that the policy that we signed was that you would draft something up of what amount you need and what you need it for, and you would submit it over to the cannabis
Ad hoc committee, that would
ad
come.
hoc
to me.
committee for them to review,
Yeah.
and EJ is on the committee himself.
Mhm.
And I don't know who else is on the
Tina.
committee, but yeah, I know that it's 2 supervisors, but I don't know if they're the only voting blocks or if there's 2 others. I know Carol Hutchinson, 2 supervisors, and I'm not sure if there's someone else that's there to vet.
Steven, I think it's Steven and Pat.
Okay,
Okay. And then once they approve, it would come directly to us. If you get denied, my personal opinion is you could probably still bring it to the board if you choose to walk that path. Definitely a more delicate path, but I would still be in support of bringing it to the board. But just want to make sure that you're aware of that. And I think that we don't want to delay and we don't want to look around for money we don't have when there's money that's easily obtainable and we have.
Yeah.
I can get something drafted. Does anyone want to assist me in doing so, or should I just bring it to the committee next meeting?
Well, what I would do is I wouldn't ask until you need.
Okay,
Because I don't think that we're going to allocate money so that it's just being held. Just know that there is money and it's not being utilized right now. And so even then there's 9 million in reserve. So if their 1.125 was to be all used within that category, there's still some available funds elsewhere that cannabis is still being held somewhere else.
would it be appropriate to ask for reimbursement for pulling out the 120, 125? Because we pulled out 150 just to create a buffer, but we ended up using a little under 125 for the Mountain Oaks administrative settlement. Is that eligible for that funding?
I think it might be awkward because it's in the past.
Mhm.
I think it would be easier to swallow and easier to get a yes if it was for something that was happening currently. That's not to say no, but it's just to say that there may be a denial for that. I don't know.
Because I'm really good at being awkward. And again, we don't know until we try. So I'm fine. I feel comfortable at least trying. And if folks are fine with me making a fool out of myself potentially, which again, I'm fine with.
I don't mind to ask. I'm just letting you know where I think the board would probably go.
Okay.
Again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, so whatever you put together, it would, if it comes here first to, or whatever however you want to do it, or if you just want to submit it straight to the ad hoc committee, and then we would review it in our next meeting and then either respond to you and then prepare an item or ask for conditions or something like that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm not sure how. I think this is kind of where it gets, what's kind of a little, and not for you, but for me and Bruno, whereas like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to advocate necessarily for it. Whereas, I don't know, because I speak with Bruno on this and then with Tina on that, and it gets just like a conundrum at times.
Do you guys mind if I email Carol and just check in? Because I think it should probably just come directly to the board for the fact that it's a weird, slightly Brown Act violation, and the fact that 2 of us would say yes here, and then all of a sudden 1 additional person who's on the cannabis tax committee would say yes too. Well, then we know that there's 3 votes ready to go walking into the board of supervisors, and that seems inappropriate. And so let me double check and see if that would be a correct board.
Okay, sounds good.
But I do encourage you to put it through either way. So
Guys, I'm telling you, I have a lot of energy. So you don't know until you try.
Yeah, I don't want to see your I don't want to see your reserves in your budget have to get hammered each time somebody says, I want to negotiate and go higher than the appraisal.
Yeah, because frankly, we don't have the funds for that. That was ideally a
Half
one.
of it.
one and done. Yeah, that was that was more than half of it. But yeah, that was tricky situation. So
All right. I don't, anything else on this item? Public? All right. Caltrans. Not sure if we have any.
And in my opinion, Caltrans is in the same boat as PG&E. We need to figure out more along the lines of how does the Army Corps want to engage with Caltrans, and how can Caltrans engage with the Army Corps? Because it's going to be based on what the design looks like.
All right. Any other comments, concerns, questions, Caltrans? Public? All right, public expression. I have something, but I'll open it up for anyone that's in the public first to be able to speak on a matter that's not essentially on the agenda. I'll go ahead and talk about this item. What it was is, I think last year we met with Robinson. It was right around June or something like that. I think we met with them. They had asked about being a part of the ad hoc committee or having a position or something of that nature. And I think it's, would we want them to put something in writing to us, or how would we go about that? I know that they would like to be an active player when it comes to this, to be able to assist the same way that Peter and Harry does. And I think too, that it might be something where Peter and Harry might be able to meet with, because I spoke with Tamaj, and I think he's in on the conversation here. Maybe if there's a way, since right now he's not technically on the group, if you two can kind of share how you've been a part of this process since before we were in this ad hoc, and what that looks like, and how his role will play if it comes forward. Well, once it comes forward to us and we decide how this works out, because I know that they're very they're just interested. Also, they see their name on the stakeholders list, and they're in the area. So I know too that they're also in one of the parties that are on one of the purchasing lists as well. So I know, I don't know how that gets or works, but I think it's just something that I think I would like to, get to since they asked, and have something to respond with, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I might
Yeah.
just respond, we'd be delighted to meet with Tomasho and talk about both
Mhm.
our experience and ways that we could work together on that. I think that be happy to do so.
Okay. Tamaj, you're on. Can you unmute? There you go. How does that sound?
Hello.
How does it look to you? How would you like to move forward?
Well, I just, I think the tribe had made a request, and I don't know how many months back that was. It'd be nice to get a copy of that presentation also, but we just hadn't heard a response, and whatever the decision of the committee is that's what it is. But we would like it in writing, maybe a letter of whatever decision is made. And that way, we could respond appropriately. And then just, I don't know, information, with different entities that, Harry's involved with. And I'm not sure if there's anybody else, but some of that information would also help in decision-making. I know there's things asked of Robinson, and just like every homeowner or every property owner, that they're gonna, try to make the best decision they can that works with everybody, but also, get a fair decision. But part of that's just access to information. And so, I'm not sure what being a stakeholder is and not getting access to information is, or or not. I don't know how that works. But at this point, we haven't got anything that has, really gone through. And I don't know if there is or not. Like I said, all we get is what is presented at these meetings. So if there's anything more than that, we're not getting that. So.
Well, everything that is all of the actions and the work that's done comes to this meeting.
Okay.
It doesn't go, it doesn't go past here until we give a report to the board as a whole. And I know that at times some of us will take positions to work with someone like the Army Corps or whatever the case may be, but we bring it right back here unless there's like an ad hoc. I think one time we did a letter, we put together a group to do a letter. So I think it was myself and Harry. And so like things like that, but it comes right back. It's not something that's done in the dark or anything like that. And so that's the other thing is everything comes here. We bring it all here. There's nothing done necessarily, or it shouldn't be done in closed doors, and it really isn't. It comes right back here. So,
and is there a contact list of all the contacts for each of the different agencies?
I think so. Well, I think what happens too is everything's posted to the website that they were showing earlier, and I don't know if you probably have access to that.
Well, I think there's names, but not like a contact.
Okay.
Like there might be a name, but there's no number associated or email, anything like that. No, I think I think in the past, far as the requests, one of the issues was Robinson is a landowner in the property, and being a decision maker does make it complicated. And I don't disagree with that point, but I also I think in the same sense, and I could be wrong, but the county owns also property in the same space and being a decision maker. So I don't know how that works when it could be applied to a different entity.
Right.
I think there's ways around it, but it would just have to be consistent.
Right.
With
and that's
the way
why I
you guys
proposed
handle it.
that. That's why I proposed that, like maybe you meet, because like I explained, myself and Bruno came because we're not only are we voting members on the board, but we realized that more needed to be done. And Peter and Harry were working on this. I'm not sure exactly. They were. I don't know how that initiated before, how that became to be, but they were the only ones kind of carrying it forward with Water Resources, and so. We decided together to put forward the ad hoc committee. And so there's nothing saying it can't grow or anything like that. So that's why I proposed that maybe you meet with Peter and Harry just to get history on it, what's going on, what their role is. And then that way you'll know kind of like what your role would be, because you wouldn't be necessarily county staff, but you would have a role the same way that they have a role, and then go about it that way. That way next meeting we can bring this to a solution, to a result, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The original effort by Peter and I was part of a coalition, and was all the actions that we took in support of the project were kind of lobbying and connecting with our representatives, including the county representatives. But since then, all that activity has been encompassed by this committee. In other words, there's nothing much going on except with this committee at the moment. The consortium of people and the public, our supporters, we haven't really continued that actively at all. So in other words, what you see is what you get, and it's here. And so in terms of contacts, we can help you with that. We can provide you with all the parties that have been involved with this committee of Ian and Garamendi and the folks with PG&E and so on and so forth. So it's all available to you, and we can help with that. So there's also some interest for the Army Corps to meet with the tribes. And that's an important thing. And it's not something I mentioned under the Army Corps discussion, but they have some issues to work out with the Robinson folks. So so it would be of value for you to be more actively connected with us.
Yeah, I think it's just a point of understanding for everybody, so, you know, everybody can make decisions at the end of the day. Yeah, so I just trying to follow up there.
Yeah, let's have you and Harry and Peter set something up so that you guys can get on that same page, and then we'll come forward, because I think sometimes there's like, because I was the chair when we first started through some of this, but it became a situation where it was very difficult for me to wear both hats when it came
Sure.
to some of that. So, but now that I'm not, and you would be serving as that point of contact for Robinson, it would be a lot more ideal, I think. Yeah. So if you guys could set that, we'll come, you know, we'll go from there and itemize this on the agenda and go from that point. And I think we'd be able to move forward in a good way. Supervisor Sabatier?
I don't know that it would need to come to this board. I think it would need to go to the Board of Supervisors, since the Board of Supervisors created the committee, created the number of positions on the committee, and appointed the folks on the committee as well. So I think it would have to go to the Board of Supervisors for the final approval, at least.
Okay.
Well, that's fine. I think whatever the issues may be, I think at that point it should be discussed too, so things can be ironed out.
Okay.
You know, there was, you know, I heard discussions on Bloody Island. I know, you know, that's a big, you know, one of the big concerns here at Robinson. I know talking to people at Upper Lake also, but you know, we really want to recover our ancestors, you know, so this is kind of one of those big wounds that are left open, and you know, we want to do what's right. And you know, I know I don't know what the situation is there, but you know, these are things that we just really want to take care of. But I don't know if there's it could be part of those discussions also. Yeah. Of how to coordinate with that property also.
We're definitely hypersensitive to the importance, historical and cultural importance of Bloody Island. It's definitely been a part of our conversations. And because of the fact that it's within the project area, we do have to acquire it in order for the project to move on. But as far as what happens to those specific properties, we've had some side conversations, but no formal decisions on how we would move forward with that. But definitely all of us are hypersensitive to that landmark.
Okay, well, you know, I think, do you guys need my contact, or, I mean, do you guys have it, or?
Harry and Peter.
I mean,
Yeah, I've got it.
okay, well.
Yeah, I'll
we'll
connect
talk.
with you, and I'll connect with Peter, so I'll get this going.
All right, thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
And Tamasha, I would just like to add, if you have any questions in terms of water resources role, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you or whatnot whenever you're available. So I don't know if you have my contact information.
I'm sure I have it on my emails, just not directly. I haven't worked directly with you.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it would be good.
This is Peter. I'd like to second Bruno's comments too. This project, and as it relates to Bloody Island, is one of my very highest priorities. It has immense personal significance to me. And the idea that restoration of this project returns the island to being an island as it was in 1850. And I just can't tell you how passionate I am about that whole subject. So I think it has, and would love the opportunity to talk about that with you and others. So.
All right, thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
So I think we have do we have a direction forward then, Tomas? Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, wherever we discussed, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to make sure I got, because I did meet with Tomaggio a couple weeks back and we discussed this. And so I wanted to make sure we got it on here. Any other public expression?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is Tomaggio receiving agendas regularly? Is he on the email list already?
No, I'm not. I mean, I get them through, I just log on to the website and then download them that way, but I'm not part of any email chain.
So I will make sure that you're on the listserv that we have.
Okay.
So you get the reoccurring meeting invites or calendar, excuse me, meeting agendas and minutes.
Yeah, I appreciate
Let's
it.
make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, I think Corolla was getting it for a while and that was the main contact. So just, yeah. All right. Okay, if there's no other public expression, non-timed item 13, committee chair and vice chair or is that for January or is that now?
That's for January. That's when we did it this past year. I just wanted to set that reminder and make sure that that was still taking place at our next meeting. That will be voting on the committee chair and the vice chair.
Okay. All right. Are we playing paper, rock, scissors, flipping a coin?
Nose goes.
All right. And, okay, so with that, next meeting scheduled for January, and that's what, Monday, January 6th, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I have to see when the calendar. For the
Third?
I don't think it's the 3rd, is it?
Yeah, it is the 3rd.
It would be the
We
third.
have
unless-
the, do we have the day off or is that the 31st that we get the day off? Which one's off?
You get Friday off.
We get
Okay.
Friday off. So if we need to, I think that's why I kept it blank, just because of the holidays break. Are we good with January 3rd at 10:30?
Is everybody good with that, or would you rather go to the 10th?
My kids are back in school, so that means I'm pretty much back to everything else too.
Okay, so we'll plan for January 3rd at 10:30 and still via Zoom. We do have the ability, just so folks know, to meet in person, do a hybrid meeting. We have the technology here on the conference and conference room C for water resources. If that's something that folks want to, I'd like to just bring that up, but I believe it's the committee's understanding and preference that we continue to meet virtually.
I think we continue as is.
Cool.
I'm with it
Easiest
too.
and no one's complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wait. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'm fine with coming into and doing that, Marina, as well, if need be, just to have that conference room going, just for a hybrid in case there is someone that wants to come in, like I forgot his name, but from Upper Lake, that gentleman that comes sometimes, he's not probably a Zoom guy, so he might want to come into.
Is it Mr. Paul Kolb?
Yes, Paul.
Well,
Yeah. So someone that has that type of, they call in or they usually come to
Yeah.
the meetings, they're not used to Zoom. It might behoove us to do that. I have to do that with my town halls because some people are just like, Zoom, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else, I think we're ready to adjourn.
Perfect timing for my next public meeting. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Wait, we get to do the joke. See you next year.
Ah.
You really set us up for that one because I was like, wait, what?
I've been waiting all year. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Hi, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.